Ho Ho Oh No! Santa's Funniest Festive Fails by Elena Cosma. Elves on Strike. The Great Toy Shortage of 2008. The North Pole is known for its impeccable work ethic, especially during the holiday season. The elves work tirelessly around the clock, crafting toys, wrapping presents, and ensuring that everything is ready for Santa's big night. But in 2008, the unthinkable happened. The elves went on strike, and Christmas was never the same. It all started with a seemingly innocent request. The elves, led by their unofficial spokesperson Jingle, approached Santa with a proposal. A slight increase in their annual cookie ration. After all, they reasoned, productivity was at an all-time high, and a little extra sugar might help them keep up the pace. Plus, they'd been eyeing those new gourmet cookies Mrs. Claus had started baking, peppermint chocolate chip with a hint of caramel. How could anyone resist? Santa, always the jolly diplomat, promised to consider their request. But with so much on his plate, literally and figuratively, he pushed the matter aside, intending to revisit it after Christmas. Unfortunately, that's where things started to go wrong. As December rolled on, the elves began to notice that their cookie jars weren't being refilled as often as they'd like. Rumors started to spread that Santa had forgotten about their request. Jingle, never one to shy away from speaking his mind, decided it was time to take action. One chilly morning, as Santa was doing his usual rounds in the workshop, Jingle stepped forward and cleared his throat. "Santa, we need to talk." Santa looked up from the list he was reviewing. "Of course, Jingle. What's on your mind?" "It's about our cookie ration," Jingle began, trying to keep his tone polite. "We asked for a little increase this year and, well, nothing's happened." Santa, who had indeed forgotten all about the request, smiled apologetically. "Ah, right, the cookie situation. I'm sorry, Jingle, it's been a busy season. But don't worry, I'll make sure you all get an extra batch once things settle down." But Jingle wasn't satisfied with vague promises. "With all due respect, Santa, we've been working our tiny fingers to the bone, and we think we deserve those cookies now. Not after Christmas, now." Santa, sensing the growing frustration among the elves, tried to placate them. "How about this? I'll ask Mrs. Claus to whip up a batch of those gourmet cookies you love, and you'll have them by the end of the week. Does that sound fair?" But it was too late. The elves had already decided that enough was enough. They wanted more than just cookies. They wanted respect, recognition, and maybe even a few days off during the holiday rush. And so, after a quick huddle with his fellow elves, Jingle made the announcement that would send shockwaves through the North Pole. "Santa, I'm afraid we have no choice," Jingle said, puffing out his chest. "We're going on strike." The workshop fell silent. Santa stared at Jingle, blinking in disbelief. "Strike? You're going on strike? But it's almost Christmas." Jingle nodded firmly. "We know, but we have to stand up for our rights. No more toys, no more wrapping, and no more singing jingle bells until our demands are met." Santa, still in shock, watched as the elves put down their tools, hung up their aprons, and marched out of the workshop. Within minutes, the once bustling toy factory was eerily quiet, save for the faint sound of Christmas carols playing in the distance. Word of the strike spread quickly throughout the North Pole. The reindeer, who were just finishing up their flight training, exchanged worried glances. "What do we do now?" Donner asked, his antlers drooping. "I don't know," Comet replied, his usual cheerfulness replaced with concern. "But without the elves, there won't be any toys to deliver." Back in the workshop, Santa paced nervously, trying to come up with a solution. He knew the elves were serious, and he couldn't afford to lose their support. After all, they were the backbone of Christmas. But with the clock ticking and no toys being made, Santa realized he was in a tight spot. Desperate to save Christmas, Santa called an emergency meeting with the elves. They gathered in the great hall, arms crossed and expressions stern. Jingle stood at the front, ready to negotiate. "All right, Jingle," Santa began. "Let's talk. What will it take to get you back to work?" Jingle, sensing that he had the upper hand, laid out the elves' demands. "We want a permanent increase in our cookie ration, a weekly hot chocolate break, and an extra day off before Christmas Eve. Oh, and we'd like a say in the toy designs from now on. No more of those boring wooden trains. Kids want gadgets and gizmos." Santa considered the demands carefully. They weren't unreasonable, and the elves had certainly earned them. With a deep sigh, Santa nodded. "All right, Jingle, you've got a deal, but you have to promise me one thing." Jingle raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "That you'll never go on strike again, at least not right before Christmas." Jingle grinned, extending his hand for Santa to shake. "Deal." With the strike officially over, the elves returned to the workshop, rejuvenated by their newfound empowerment. They worked faster and more efficiently than ever, fueled by the promise of extra cookies and hot chocolate breaks. In record time, the toy factory was back up and running, churning out gifts for children around the world. On Christmas Eve, as Santa loaded up the sleigh with freshly made toys, he couldn't help but chuckle at the events of the past few weeks. The great toy shortage of 2008 had nearly derailed Christmas, but in the end, it brought the North Pole closer together. As he climbed into the sleigh, Santa gave Jingle a nod of appreciation. "Thanks for keeping me on my toes, Jingle. I couldn't do this without you." Jingle, standing proudly with a cookie in hand, saluted Santa. "Anytime, Santa, anytime." And so the legend of the elves' strike became a cautionary tale at the North Pole. A reminder that even in the busiest of times, it's important to take care of those who make Christmas magic happen. And of course, to never underestimate the power of a good cookie. Discover the mishaps, giggles, and chaos of Santa's wildest Christmas adventures, available now on Amazon. Story Adventurers Club series, buckle up. This adventure is just starting, and you won't want to miss it.